I'd love to start this conversation with just a quote I found from you online. And that said, "My life isn't about me. This is about the service I give to the people around me. That's what life is for. And that is what my life is for." When did you come to this realization, and how has it changed your daily life now going forward?
It came to my life pretty late in life because I'm 60 years old. And I wish I would have had this insight years and years ago. And I'm sure I may have had that if I would have been more involved in the practice of religion, studying the Bible. I would have figured that out. But needless to say, this is when it happened. So I was 57 years old. I'd traveled around the world with my husband on a book tour for a couple of years. And I had been diagnosed with cancer. I was told it was not a terrible cancer, that no one dies from this cancer, that I could have the surgery whenever I was ready. And so we didn't really put it off very long. But when we did come home and I had the surgery, which was to take out a partial of my left kidney, they did a biopsy and found out that that wasn't what I had at all. And they re-diagnosed me with a Bellini tumor, which is a very, very, very aggressive tumor. And I went to 2 different hospitals in the States, one in San Francisco and MD Anderson in Houston. And they said, there's nothing we can do. This is a very aggressive cancer. You can have surgery and hopefully that will solve your problems, because they had scanned it and it gone into my lymph node, one lymph node. And so I went back to Toronto. They said, the specialists there are as good as the specialists anywhere. Just go home and have your surgery. So the night before the surgery, Jordan and I were terrified, out of our skulls. I could tell that we weren't present at all, that, you know, we were somewhere, but it wasn't where we were. And I'd done a meditation in my 20s when I had an interesting fellow I was working with. He was a massage therapist, but he was a very creative artist. And he taught me a meditation once when I had a diagnosis, again, of something that might have been a tumor. It wasn't, but something that might have been a tumor in my abdomen. And he showed me how to breathe and visualize and go down to where my problems were and address them, or at least try to communicate with myself and what was going on with myself. And I found that that was quite useful back then. So I thought we would try that again. And it gave Jordan a job. He was going to sit at my feet and he was going to move his hands like this up and down the arch of my foot on both feet while I was breathing in white light. But I decided gold light was, cancer needed gold light. So I was bringing everything I had to it, and I was breathing in gold light down to my kidney, to where the cancer was, and asking what it was doing there. And this took about 2 hours of this. And I was talking to Jordan and telling him what I was doing. I went down there and I saw the cancer was there. It was like black cells that were turned away from me and not paying any attention to what I was saying or what I wanted. No communication left at all. And I, in a short, truncated conversation about this, I'll just say that I decided that it was too much for me. It was too much for anyone, that cancer is too much. And it has to be something that's shared with the universe. And so at that time, I saw a black smoke come up from me, and I was calm, and we went to sleep, and we went into surgery the next day, and I felt calm and at peace with what I'd done the night before. It felt like I had had a communication, and the surgeons told me that they did the surgery and everything came out. There was nothing, the kidney wasn't adhered to the spleen. There was nothing troublesome. Everything just came out the way it needed to. But you asked when I came to this realization, it was between the time I had that first surgery and the second surgery. So when I was diagnosed with the terminal illness, I thought, well, I'm 57 years old, and I've had relatives who've died from lung cancer. Asbestos killed my aunt and my uncle, two uncles. And like my uncle, when he was in his 20s, worked in asbestos construction with asbestos, and she washed his clothes. And her little brother lived with them, and they all died of lung cancer from asbestos. That's how horrible that stuff is. So stay away from it. But I thought, okay, well, maybe I have that same. My grandfather also died at 54. So, I thought, okay, this is that line of genetics that I have, and I accepted it. But then I went home to speak with my son and tell him what the prognosis was, and I think it was a combination of the 2 years of traveling with Jordan and listening to him talk about the Bible. I was there for his whole Bible series when he talked about Genesis, and so I had spent I think I went to 150 lectures. It was intense, and I went and sat in the audience. I was at every lecture. Really, I was scrutinizing if that lecture was better than the last one. That's what I was there. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was listening. And so for some reason at that moment, when I talked to my son and his wife, and I saw the pain on their faces and the grief on their faces, something woke up inside me and told me that there was another way to think about this. And then I had a better insight on why people will go through heroic measures to save their own lives, through surgery and chemotherapy and radiation and, all the other things that you can think of to save their lives. I realized, this isn't to save my life. It is to save my life, but it's to save my life not for me necessarily, although it would be to save the divine side of me, yes, so to save whatever it is that I can do in the world, yes, it's to save that part of me, but that part of me is essentially in service, as we all are. We are in service to ourselves and in service to the rest of our community.